get ready to throw down.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Sales Throwdown. We are still in our respective homes. Clint is down in Houston somewhat in the middle of a hurricane. So if he dips out, it's because of weather and not because we pissed him off. So with that being said, we could totally try to piss off Clint. And today we're talking about shortcuts, right? Easy buttons and workarounds and things like this in sales. And Clint has had some unique exposure to this rather recently. So why don't you pick it up, Clint, from there?
Yeah. So, one of the things that is a common occurrence in at least my industry and maybe a little bit everybody's is, there's always somebody out there trying to sell you this program or this, this book. And if you do these 10 steps or this sales program, and if you do these, and if you follow this, or you buy our program that costs, $10,000 a year, you will sell, everything that you could ever want to sell. And there's a morsel of truth into some of it, right? They're templates, they're guidelines, they're tracking tools, they're not bad programs, but they're not an easy button to sell what you do. They don't make magical things appear. And you can spend a lot of money and you can go down a lot of rabbit holes and they just get you nowhere, right? And so that's kind of what we were talking about is really making sure that you vet those out, because I'm here to tell you, if there was an easy button, everybody that was a sales manager, a CEO, or a president would invest in those easy buttons. And I promise you, they're just not there.
Yeah. I mean, I can speak to some of that in the sense that I've spent money thinking, hey, this is going to shorten a particular process. And either they're just, either they don't fit the way they were described, or they don't produce the way that they were intended, right? And so you start seeing the cracks in somebody else's one size fits all versus just some of the basics, right? That we all hate doing sometimes, or that we, stumble with, struggle with, find a million other things to do other than, get on that phone, get into a conversation with somebody, or set a meeting, get out to the coffee shop, or get into that office, or have them come to your office. However all of this occurs in your world, a lot of that is driven by what you want to see an outcome, right? Be. Yep. And that's really hard to gauge for, even for people that are in the same business, how you go about doing your business. So, yeah.
And that for me, the reason this came up was, and to speak particular to it, it was lead generation, right? These companies want to sell you all these leads, and then you go, but if you buy our software, I'm going to give you 100 leads a day, and you're going to be the best selling, person in construction. The fact is that you're right. You are going to give me 100 leads a day. What I do with those 100 leads a day is very much so on me, and whether I can handle the bandwidth. What do you do with them? Do you shoot them a cold call or an email and hope that it picks up? My guess is not, because you have no relationship. You don't know the guy's first name until you saw it in an email. That's not what we're here to do, guys. And so buying all that stuff, even though you have, like for my business, you give me 600 jobs to bid. Well, that's great. I'm giving everybody free consulting and a number, but I didn't develop any relationships. I didn't go through conversations. Is the project even real, or is this guy selling me a scam? So that's just me personally. That's where I'm finding myself having to deal with some of that stuff right now.
Yeah, I think ultimately, you can look at all the different programs that are out there, and I think initially the first thing you've got to do is know who you are, build your confidence. Prior to us today starting to record, Al was talking about some of these companies, big companies, having confidence in him to go out and sell. They're just like, here, go sell for us. Well, the reason is not even it has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with his confidence level. I mean, he's very confident. He knows who he is. He knows how to talk to people based on what's going on. We talk about it all the time. What's your mindset? If you are confident in who you are, you know who you are, I think you're that's the first step to success. I think you can look at all of us, and I think we're all pretty confident.
I was going to say, that's probably a trait that all four of us have
I think
in our own wheelhouse, coming from who we are, right?
well, because I think that's, as I said, initially you have to work on knowing who you are and building that confidence in yourself. Because if you're, mamby-pamby about something, or you lack total confidence, and everyone doesn't just naturally have that. Now, I think probably the four of us do, but I don't think if you don't have that naturally, I think that is something that you can create. You can figure out who you are and what's important to you. You need to know that. I believe that so strongly. I don't know if the guys do, but I think
I agree with you pretty strongly on that, Nan. I will tell you where I find a lot of this is driven from the subject that we're talking about today is from the C corner, right? Because they live in the more, I don't want to talk to people world. And I know John's taking this as an insult, but
exactly.
But I'm not.
I'm like, John's taking this to heart.
But so I say this.
I don't listen to anything Clint says.
Oh, that's false. But
that is false.
I do say this a lot in my company is like, we are not an accounting company that does HVAC. We're an HVAC company that has an accounting department. And there's a lot of truth to that, right? Because those guys they would love to sell from a spreadsheet. It would make their world, right? So when it's really easy for them to push those ideas on me of, hey, we have this program. Why don't we buy this program? It's because that doesn't work, right? There's a reason that you have four personalities, and there's a reason that you do one and Al does another,
Because I'll point, here's where I have a problem with just what you described, selling off a spreadsheet. Because when you fuck up a spreadsheet, you just go change the number. But out in the field, you got a whole line of domino effects from that number being off that have to SaaS, change the specs, call in material that you didn't have, or you've got excess, you got to figure out where to push it. It becomes so little digit head with your DM number on the sheet. Yeah. How far down the line is that guy usually thinking about the correctness or the variance of that number and what the impact that has down the road?
Yeah. I mean, in my business, an engineer screws up a design and we have that engineer on staff. I need about 17 eyes, full-blown eyes, to go repair the one number that he screwed up on the spreadsheet. That's just how it is, and that's why we have different multiple personalities in the office. I mean, that's the whole point to this show and everything else that we do. Is that's why personality-driven stuff is so important.
Yes.
And it's your personality that drives whatever your success is or whatever your failure is, because we all have our Achilles heel. Right?
Yeah.
Meaning that I try to hide all the bullshit that doesn't work in my world, right? And really focus in on the wins that I'm having so that I can go back and stomach the things that I didn't do so well and rehash those out. So, life's a balancing game. You got to balance it between your own ears, make sure it makes sense, but then look at your bank account, because numbers do count, and be able to record some revenue that you then take back into your personal life that should hopefully ease the wounds of being in the battle. I agree.
I mean, I know John, and I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I have probably 25, 30 books that are geared towards selling, right? They're with a wide range of topics. And I've skimmed through most of them, read a couple, and it's just kind of like, guys, this is, there's some good points in there. I can read every 100th word and be like, okay, I get what you're saying. But you got to remember that a human being wrote that book, right? These are ideas. These aren't facts. If they were facts, everybody would buy your book, and that's the only book we'd need in the world to do selling, right? But there's a reason there's hundreds of them out there. Is because they all work for different people and different personalities wrote the book that you're reading. So, it's just one of them things that comes up constantly when somebody hands me a book and says, oh my gosh, you got to read this. And I look at it and I can tell right away by the picture on the back, it's like, I'm not going to like this guy, and it may be all I need to say this book's horseshit. So,
But okay,
but that's me, guys.
So you're not judging it by the cover; you're judging it by the back cover. Is that what's happening right here?
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the 10 words you read through the different sections.
Okay, so
No,
if someone says that to Clint, we've already identified this in previous podcasts, that if you tell a D, especially if it's Clint, this is the best. I'm surprised he didn't just rip it like a phone book right there in front of the person, because you hate that.
Well, the thing is like if you tell me that these are, if you read my book, you will sell, and I get on the first page and I find one flaw, the whole book's shit after that, right? I'm done with it. There is no more book.
But could it also be said that you're building a self-fulfilling prophecy, that like you're approaching this thing with any reason to pick it apart, so of course nothing is going to work because you're not actively actually doing these things?
No, I agree. That's why I said that's what I do, right? And it's not right. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just describing me as a person. But yeah, but that's the thing, right? Is if you are like me and you can get past all the flaws of the book and find one or two things, it's only helpful. I'm not saying that, right? You can always pick out some things to load your toolbox with, but it's not law. You cannot read that book and become this perfect sales guy.
So hold on though, right? I mean, okay.
Tell us.
Say it.
Hold on.
Preach it, brother.
I'm trying to think about the best way to say this, because I don't think that anybody's making that claim, right? I don't think that anybody is saying you have to say it exactly this way. What they're saying is, hey, you need to be doing this fundamentally important thing, right? Call it framing, or setting expectations, or in Sailor World, it's called an upfront contract. It's called different things depending upon who you follow.
But it's all basically the same.
It's all basically the same thing, right? But we all know that framing, right, and setting expectations around a sales conversation to make sure that we're on the same page is important.
Agreed. But here's my hang up with it is that you spent, and I know personally and professionally, you spent a ton of time figuring that statement out in your own world. A lot of time to get to where you could say that. I don't think on day one, when you went to sales training, that you just had that comment figured out. I think it took a long time. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying is they're speaking to the guy that's started sales conversations or started a sales job today. He can't go get a book and figure it all out. They're all just templates and guidelines. That's all I'm saying.
But hold on. So as a counterpoint, what you were talking about a second ago is that you have to go be an eye to fix problems, right?
No, I just said that's what I do. They're good. They're a whole lot better at it than me and you, John. Man is fantastic at it too, right? You're going to send the sweetheart and the party boy to say, hey, I know we screwed up, but let's go have a drink about it. That's a whole lot easier to do.
But hold on. Somebody just said something. It was either Clint or John who said, you can't. That you couldn't. This can't be scripted, and I disagree. I write scripts for myself all the time.
Absolutely.
Only as a template to at least get my mind to you're gonna do a public speaking engagement, right? Yeah. So you write that shit out, right? So you get all your thoughts on paper. Then you rearrange it and say, well, let's take this paragraph up here because it makes sense to interject this if he says that, right? And have that. And so you build these little micros in your mind, right? That when he clicks this is the micro I'm pulling. And so I love it scripted, but you got to get to the point where it doesn't feel scripted, that you've said it enough times to, what's D3 or, what's this? Hey, boom, boom, boom. And you guys probably do that a ton yourselves.
I'm going to hire Al to be my business development person, because that's what I'm doing for these people who don't have salespeople is I'm giving them these frameworks and the technology and the speaking points and stuff like that, so that way they can go out and hit the ground running faster, as opposed to let's go burn this conversation.
Spending in the decade, exactly, the decade getting to where
100%.
Now, I go ahead.
I've been saying it the whole time. These are templates, exactly what you just said, Doctor.
Frameworks.
You use these books as templates, and you build your knowledge off of them.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's where I was going with this. Sorry, I'm old.
All of my point is that you cannot go out there and buy a golden ticket or swallow a pill and become the guy.
But you just said that you've got 20 books there, right? I've got the same, if not maybe even more. And if I get one, yeah, I got him beat, man. I know I did. Shit. But if I grab one thing out of that one book, right, and it helps me build a sales script or says, hey, this would up what I've already done, right? All the time we've already spent in it. Wow, there's a gold, there's a nugget there. And I write that down. Sometimes I'll even say it to Nan. I'm like, oh, I got to remember to say that, right? Because it's just, wow, why reinvent the wheel? If that thing is like, the Cadillac four-wheel drive of sales conversations, that's what I want to be riding in. Because I'm riding with Biden.
Oh, God. I was wondering if that was going to make an appearance.
That's what I'm saying. Work it into the conversation, baby. Work it into the conversation.
Okay, so let's go back to something you talked about a second ago that I have a huge problem with. You Al made a comment about
you. Yeah. You as in me? Okay.
Yeah. You said you just look at the bank account, right? How long from the day that you sell a screw or a plate or something else like that to one of these surgeons?
30 days. 30 days.
30 days to get paid.
And I know what I'm getting paid because it's an institutional thing, right? I got a price list. I charge this. I know what it costs. I know what I'm getting paid.
So realistically,
except when the hospital that went out of business that owed me $500,000. Yeah. Now I know. Yeah. That stung a little bit.
So there are some lags in this process of just looking at the check.
Oh yeah. And hold on. And when it lags to $500,000, news is you ain't fucking getting it. It's gone.
Yeah. So you're telling me that there's not a data point you could be looking at like a little bit earlier than that checking account that like says, oh, hey, I'm on the right track, or hey, I might be telling myself a story.
Number of surgeries, products sold, Nan, how many units did Nan sell this month? Sure. No, I got a bunch of units and I can do all the math on that. But you know what's super special is just looking at that bank account right there. Bottom that juicy number right there.
For sure. Here's the deal. I'm not saying that that anybody should not relish when they win, right? And go spend and buy whatever you want and everything else like this. Have good spending habits, please.
Did that already. Don't sit on the cash. And cash is king for times like this.
But what I'm saying though is that you can build up a huge bank account, right? And then you're to the end of the month and maybe not so much in your industry because these doctors want to use your stuff and they have to get paid themselves, right? But in what I do, and kind of in some areas of what Clint does, it's kind of not as clearly defined, right? Oh yeah, John, this looks awesome, but I think we're going to wait a little bit. So then what happens is that
I get where you're going. You're exactly right.
You need a KPI, right, or a data point that you're looking to that says, okay, I'm on the right track based upon the fact that I do this every week and every month and I hit payroll consistently.
No, you're right. But I do have people who crunch numbers so that when I go call for the books or I'm looking at the, what our projected revenue for, I'll be honest with you, I sort of get lazy because I'm paying my bills and money's in the bank. I do a look back instead of a look forward. Yeah. So that's one of my horrible habits of looking down and going, oh crap, we spent a lot of money. Now what are we waiting on to come in? So I balance that because of poor habits on my side of the fence. So sure.
And for me, like the KPIs become even more important when you're entering that complacency zone. I'm just like, I'll be good. No, you won't, right?
No,
because if you take a break, stuff starts to fall apart, right? Like especially in like a relational type of sale and stuff like this, like you got to stay in front of them, and you got to be constantly growing because nobody wants to be attached to like one piece of business. Because I've done this, right? After hearing all the horror stories about everybody else doing it, like I lost a piece of business during all this that was paying me like $12K a month, right? So, you get a little comfortable, you get a little complacent, you take your foot off the gas a little bit. And to me, that's why the KPIs are so important, because I can't take my foot off the gas because I still got to meet this metric, because I'm not wired to go seek that out just as a default. So it's kind of like, I got to hit this goal. I got to hit this goal. I got to hit this goal.
Yeah, no, that and
yeah, I don't. To me personally, John.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so one of what you're talking about to stay on a little bit of topic here of not having a like an easy button or buying one thing and making it work.
Yeah.
You know, CRMs is a prime example of that to me, where somebody sells you a CRM tool and they say, hey, if you'll use this, you'll be the best sales company out there, right? And that's not true, because CRMs are data in, data out, right?
For
if
sure.
you buy a CRM and you let it sit on your desktop and you never open the program, it doesn't do anything for you. What you put into that and what you look at and how you set all your KPIs within that CRM is everything, right?
Yep.
Whether you do 10 steps or 100.
And yeah.
But hear me out, right? It is not a sales tool. You can't, or it's not a sales winning ticket. It's not a,
well,
it's everything.
So I'm sorry, go ahead.
It'll get you there. It'll get you there, right? It can help you fast track to get there. And that's more of the message that these things need to be, right?
But here's the deal, right? We also know that if you just stop eating candy, you lose weight, right? If you stop drinking alcohol, you lose weight. But moderation is not sexy, right? So it does not sell. It is not incredibly marketable. So everyone needs bigger, faster, more improved, and the features and benefits that most salespeople sell on in their conversations. What I am here to tell you is that if we put your stuff into a pipeline and I make you look at it every single day, you are going to improve, right? Depending upon how seriously you take it and what kind of situation you're in, your mileage is going to vary. Sure. But if I make you look at this tool every day and we have it built to like kind of map out your process and stuff, you are going to start to notice when you're anxious and when you're selling badly versus when you're feeling, you know, in abundance and that things are going smoothly and stuff like that, because you've got this tool. It's right here in front of you. The things that we look at and the things that we measure and manage are the things that improve. So
then here's what you need to do with some of the, because I know you sell across a broad range of products, right? So you need to do some rebranding, right? Because you need to be saying, hey, Al, we've got some great products out here. We have our cocaine line. We've got our heroin line. We've got our, you know, crystal meth line.
Dude, are you trying to get me rated on like a Saturday at 5 o'clock? So, what is going on?
So no, when you said it gets a little monotonous or boring or whatever, I think that is part of the problem with some of this stuff, that the grind is boring, man. It's hard. So, you know, it's waking up and get on the phone, or wake up and get to the office, or but if you're not waking up saying, I got to damn well eat this week and I want to eat good. And if you don't have that motivation to use these tools to sharpen who you are in sales, you need to go find something else to do, right? Because when I go into places and I see people, they're good salespeople too. I sell against some of the best salespeople you've ever met. And Nan will agree with this. They have their little quirkiness, but man, they're knocking on doors. They will come and sell in front of you. You can stand right there, and your competition will walk up to a surgeon you're doing business with and hijack the conversation. And you're like, seriously? But it's just, that's the way it rolls.
So let me ask you this question, because looking back on the industry now, after doing all the training and the work that I've done, I would argue that most of the people that I met while I was working with you are not really great salespeople. They're great at like bullshitting and maintaining relationships with people.
I disagree. There's the guys that live at, now maybe if they're just doing servicing a case or something like that, but no, I disagree. You're going to find people that will get up early, stay late. You know, they come in sometimes hungover, you know, and everybody chats it up, so you kind of know, what's going on outside the game. But when they're in there, there's a handful of critiques I could give to them. But by and large, I look at my competition and I like who they are. I usually like what they're saying to their to the docs. And I can't fault them for trying their game and putting their spin on their product.
Sure, I'm not. So let's make sure we're talking about the same thing, right? I'm talking about because and maybe this is colored by like how I view things, but like I'm thinking about a high performing salesperson who can really have a pretty clear glimpse of like what they're going to be doing from like a monthly and annual revenue number, right? They've got stuff going on. They're constantly trying to expand, because if you're only with one surgeon, you could lose that surgeon, and stuff like that. So really like working methodically to, continue to grow and stuff like this. Whereas the people that I met in that industry were not that, right? It was just like, cool, I've got one doctor, let me do everything I can to like hold on to this relationship so that way I don't have to go get another one because it's really difficult and stuff like that. So,
well, part of that is it's hard to be two places at one time when you're just one rep, right?
for sure.
So
Absolutely.
I guess maybe I'm talking about guys who own similar businesses, right?
Okay.
And so I see the way they treat their staff. I see the way they interact with doctors, and I see them in on some of the sales calls. Now, those guys do one of two things, right? If you excel at the bottom level, as you come up, either go to a corporate route and you're a regional vice president, a bunch of guys like me that you're talking to and getting product, or you go out sort of on your own and you sit in charge of your own game. And, you know, the lazy spot in my business is about $250 a year, right?
Yeah.
And there are plenty of people who make that, and that's not a bad income. And, you know, you can generate some nice things for your family and yourself. Now, a lot of times, yeah, you're hanging on and you got your one doc, and, you know, as long as that guy stays alive, you know, again, it's you know, definitely multiple pathways to being successful in this arena.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's to be said for like any arena, right?
I agree.
Mean,
yeah.
there's no real one way to like skin any one of these cats, right? To use the popular thing, because, you know, you might go the marketing route and really invest in some good marketing, and depending upon your like industry and vertical, that might make a lot of sense, right? But there's some situations, right? And I'm kind of coming to realize this, that the people that I can have the biggest impact with are like people like in Clint's industry or people like in Al's industry, right? And so by focusing on these like agency owners who are working in tech already, their natural skill set around tech is going to be higher than some other people, not for better or for worse, but like that's just the environment that they're in. So for those people, I got to be operating in that last 20%, like at the very top end of like what I can do for them to have like a light on moment, which is what I'm going for when I'm working with a client. Whereas if I can work with somebody who is not in tech already, so they might not be, you know, looking at this stuff, you know, as a way to track and everything else like that. Like when I show them what we can do in a CRM, it's almost revelatory for them, because they're like, oh, you know, tracking and, you know, getting notifications about like what you need to be doing and stuff like that, so that way nothing falls through the cracks. So I'm kind of shifting my market a little bit to more of the not as tech savvy crew, but you can do it any way you want.
And I think that, you know, everybody out there that's listening to this, you have to figure out what your process is and what accoutrements you need to stay at your highest level of performance at your height. None of this replaces you. And I think there's the fallacy, right? Is that, well, if I get this, like you said, I got a magic bullet, or I got, you know, I've got something that does the work for me. No. These are storage devices. These are communication devices. These are accoutrements to that face that you have to put out there on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, I don't give a shit what you're feeling like. You got to be on your A game to win an account. Well, if that's the day, you know, that something else is in your way, that's on you, right?
Yeah.
You know, if you're mad at the wife, or you drank too much last night, or you just didn't spend time, that's on you. So own that and get better at that portion of the process.
I mean, it's so important. I mean, talking about the easy button, again, I go back to, I think, knowing you, knowing your words, and watching your actions. Basically, that's just what Al just said. But, you know, don't just think that you're going to go out, as Clint said also, that you're going to go out, read this book, follow those instructions, and there you go. You're going to be successful. You know, they're all pretty similar. And I do think you need, again, I'm going to just reiterate, just know who you are, know the words you're going to use. Words are huge, and actions are huge.
Well,
huge.
Okay, let me add to that. You have to actually press your emotional intelligence, right? Because I think anytime you can bring emotion to the game, right, then the facts and the figures and everything that you're talking about, you bring them to life with your words and your emotions, right? And I shouldn't answer that because maybe somebody's saying wrong out there. So that's part of emotional intelligence, right? Don't answer other people's questions. So where I'm going with this is take that and think about, because whenever you think about a CRM, that's why I threw in the cocaine. You know, I'm like, how do you jazz that up, right? Well, you name it something different. But when you wake up, right, and you're not on your game, you got to put some emotion behind that and get yourself into a different state than you woke up with, right? Because nobody gives a shit if you're having a bad day, guys. If you're having a bad day, guess what? You're not going to sell. Don't have them. Don't have them.
Yeah, that is so true. Whenever, and, you know, I don't want to belabor it, but, you know, I can tell you so many times I'll see other sales reps and, you know, they're like, you know, the doc's like, how you doing? Man, I just had a really crappy day. Or, you know, they'll just whine. And I'm just sitting there going, you're an idiot. Like, literally, you do not do that. I don't care if you're having the worst day. You are having a great day. You know, you don't want to lie. I know that you're like, oh, okay, so you're supposed to just go in and fake it. No, you just go in with a good attitude. I mean, attitude, again, is everything. You have to have a good attitude. People don't want to buy from a whiny person. They're not going to, you know, just go ahead, Al. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, all you have to do is go get in front of a gatekeeper. They have such a shittier day than everybody every day, right? So all you got to do to improve your status is go crank open an office door. I don't even care if you're selling anything to them. Just walk in there like you're going to and go, hey, how's your day? Oh, you know, and it just starts, right? So there you go, guys. That's how important or unimportant whether you're having a good day or a bad day is, right? Go tell how poorly your day is going to the next gatekeeper, right? She could give a shit. She wants to tell you about hers. She will tell you about hers, but she does not care about yours. So stow it. Leave it in the trunk. Come on. Easy.
What are you thinking about over there, Clint? You've been quiet.
No, I'm just listening. It's all good points. Yeah.
Awesome.
Clint's sipping. He's doing his Saturday sipping.
Saturday sipping. I'm out.
Right out of the mason jar.
Right out of the man.
There
you can take
go.
the boy
That's
off the farm.
That's old school right there.
Well, like honestly, guys, that's 30 minutes, and that's probably as solid a place to leave it as we could come up with, right? Does anybody have anything else to add? I mean, do we want to go around? Clint, do you have anything else? All right, guys. So let's call it here.
I think we hit all the points.
Awesome. So if you are in sales and you're struggling, the first thing you need to do is you need to find out who you are and how you communicate, and find out some of the blind spots that you might not even be realizing that are right there in front of you. Reach out to us, disc@salesthrowdown.com. We can run you through one of these assessments. If you want, we can hop on a call and go over it with you, get some advice about like how to make sure you're looking at this stuff. If you know somebody else in sales, please share this with them. We don't have to make it harder. Any coaching and help and just reinforcement is huge and valuable. And if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you would leave us a review on iTunes, that would probably be the best thing you could do for us right now. So we read every one, we share them with each other, and it would be a huge help. So we'll see you guys next week. Thanks so much. Have a great day.